So let's just be real with ourselves and say, hey, it hasn't happened yet, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. Hey, everybody. I'm a little bit late getting here, but I'm here. Hey, everybody. This is Mother Theresa here, joining you all for our Tuesday night grandstanding with Mother Theresa. Listen, if you haven't called a friend or a loved one, your girlfriends, guy friends, your people, let them know that it's time to grandstand. And as we are grandstanding on tonight, I want you all to pay close attention to what we are talking about, because it is something that we all have either dealt with, or we all have experienced either indirectly or directly in our lives. And as we prepare for our Easter Sunday, I want to talk to you all a little bit about a couple of things. But let me just back up a little bit. For those that are new, I'm Mother Theresa, the other Mother Theresa from East Texas, that is. And I am on Facebook and YouTube on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock, grandstanding. And you may say, well, what is grandstanding? Grandstanding, by my definition, is the ability to talk about and share or speak of the grand things that's happening in not only my life, but in the lives of those that are connected with me. I also talk about things that are happening in the world, and I don't get too much into it, because that's not what this platform is about. It's to talk about the grand things. Now, let me just tell you, my background is of a social worker, counselor, mental health professional, but that's not my role on grandstanding. My role for grandstanding, or what I do on grandstanding, is just simply to drop some nuggets of wisdom, a little bit of just some things that I feel like will help you to be able to navigate life. I would say some little strategies. Some people these days call them life hacks. I wouldn't go as far as to say life hacks, but it's just some things that, you know, a lot of you all probably are familiar with. You've heard it once before, or you may not have heard it. You may have heard it. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a spin on it. So I would like to say to my faithful listeners, my mom, my family, my children, my husband, Miracle, all of my people, my grandstanders, as Cynthia would call you all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. To the new people, welcome. And I hope you stick around to the end to see what I'm going to talk about. Well, since we are close to Easter, since we are getting ready for Easter, I wanted to talk a little bit today about resurrection and how to resurrect your hope. I'm going to try to stick with hello there, Miss Shekinah. I'm going to try to stick with my notes, but I may venture a little bit off. So tonight's topic, and I failed to say, it may seem like a little bit of a kind of a Bible study, not Bible study. I have to say this. I am a child of God. I believe in God. I love God. I cherish the faith that I have. So guess what? What's in me, it's going to come out. So my love for God, my belief that God is my source, He is my strength, that is going to come out in everything that I do. So when I'm sharing with you, guess what? I'm sharing I'm sharing from a place of love, because I want to represent him well. So let's talk about resurrection, your hope. The thing that I want you to understand is that just as God got up, so can you. It's time to rise from what's been holding you down. What you think that you could not bounce back from, it is time to resurrect the hope that God has given you. And when we think about Easter, Easter reminds us that that dead things can live again. It reminds us that although things that were Jesus Christ that was once dead, he was able to rise again. And again, we're going to compare that and make it to where it is, where you can look at this Hello There by Candace. I want you all to understand that how we can tie this in to our daily lives. I want you to understand that the dreams that you've had, the joy, the strength that you thought was gone, it's not going anywhere, you all. If you feel like you've been stuck, if you feel like you're stagnated, this is your time, that it's time to rise again. And let me just tell you, I talked about the song about Donnie McClurkin. And he said, after you've done all that you can do, just stand. Just stand. And sometimes we get into a situation where we feel like, okay, we've fallen and we can't get up. That is not true. I need you to understand that there is hope. There is the ability for all of us to get back up. And so in so many times we think that just because we've fallen, or just because we've fallen short, or just because the dreams have not been accomplished, it's not going to happen. And I'm going to tell you that is so far from the truth. So I want you to think about the fact that hope is not just optimism. It is an expectation that is backed by faith. Now, I can tell you all that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So I want you to think about the things that, and we're talking about resurrection. We're talking about how you can get back up, how you can resurrect the things that you thought were dead in your life. So keep all of that in mind as I keep going back and forth and giving you some examples. So I want you to think about some of the things that you thought was buried in your life. And the things that you thought were buried in your life because it hasn't happened, because it's slow to come to pass, because it is taking too long for it to come to pass. I'm going to give you an example. One of the things that, and I was sharing this with someone, matter of fact, it was our administrative assistant. I was talking to her and I was telling her that when I got out of high school, of course I had my daughter, but my daughter Ned. I was sharing with her that I had immediately came out of high school, was a good student in high school, immediately enrolled into Stephen F. Austin State University. Okay. Thought I was doing well, was excited about being in school, excited about being in college. And I'm gonna go down a rabbit trail right here because there was something that my husband and I were discussing. So put a pin in what I was talking about. Okay, you all know how I am about these rabbit trails. But listen, let me tell you all something, especially children that maybe, and I'm just going to be honest and say they may look like me. Find out who your counselors are when you get in high school. Get to know who your academic counselor is. Because when I was in high school, you all, and I was a good student, I made good grades. I was not one of those students that was just barely getting by, just barely putting in the work. You all, I was putting in the work. I was a good student. My mom is on here. She can vouch for it. I was a good student. Academic wise, as well as behavior wise. I don't ever recall going to the principal's office for anything. I wasn't that type of student. I did my work. I was an AB student, sometimes C. But do you all know that when I was in high school and about to graduate, I do not recall not one counselor calling me in and saying, Thresa, have you considered this university? Have you considered this university? Have you did all of your paperwork to be sure that you can go to college? Have you even thought about going to college? You know what? These are some of your choices. Have you did your application? Have you taken all of the tests that you need to take? Have you did all of those things? And Miracle, I know you have a senior on your hands. So listen, I'm going to tell you all, I do not recall those conversations. They did not happen for me. Okay. And I was sharing with my husband and we were talking about the grades that I had and my rank in my class. I should have had scholarships just pouring in. But guess what? I did not. I may have had one or two that sent me information in the mail. I did not have that. Now I can think about when my son was a junior and senior in high school. You all, he would get mail from colleges every single day. And it was several pieces of mail. It was several invitations. Now, yes, granted, he was an athlete. He had good grades, but let me just tell you, his grades were good, but my grades were far better than what my son's were. And he was getting tons and tons and tons of information from the different schools and, wanting him to come for a visit, scholarship offers, all of these things. But I did not get those things. So I'm going to tell you all, when you think about the things that may be dead or buried, Miracle, you're not ready, baby. You don't have a choice. Honey, you've got about a month and a half to get ready, okay? You don't have a choice. But let me just tell you, and Jamarlin, if you're listening, Jamarlin, make sure you're doing all of the legwork you need to do so you can get those scholarships. But even going back to that, like I said, that was my little rabbit trail. But even with all of that, you all, when I was in algebra, and because I struggled with college algebra, it just made me decide eventually, hey, this is too much for me right now. I'm not making the grade that I want to make. Matter of fact, I failed college algebra and I think at that time, a D or something below a 60 was failing. And I was like, oh my gosh, it scared me. And I was like, okay, you know what? I guess I'm not ready for this. And because I wasn't ready for that, or so I thought, I dropped out. And I dropped out and I stayed out of school for 10 long years. And during that time, I thought that was something that was buried. I didn't think at the time that I was going to be able to go back and to get finished with that, with the college degree. I did not think that because it didn't happen the way that my blueprint was set up. I thought that it was buried. I thought it was something dead. But little did I know that God's blueprint is definitely much grander than mine. And so because of that, I was able to go back and I was able to finish and I was able to do extremely well. Not only, graduate with the one degree, but two within a 6-month period. No, it took me longer than 6 months to do it. But what I'm saying, I had 2 degrees back to back within 6 months of each other. So when I ask you, what are some of the buried areas or the areas that you think may be buried in your life, what are they? And what are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? Just like, just like when we think about the things that are buried in our life and we think, okay, God, you're not hearing me. You're not really in tune with me. He is. He really is. And sometimes it's not necessarily just a dream that we're thinking about that is buried, or how to resurrect something. Sometimes it's a relationship. Sometimes it's our own self-worth, okay? These are some of the things when we're talking about resurrection and resurrecting certain things. Sometimes our own self-worth has to be resurrected because we have thought of ourselves as not being worthy, of anything that, of the good things that may be happening in our lives. And because we have that self-doubt, we don't push ourselves to try to resurrect those things. And I also want to share with you all, I'm trying to get my notes together, you all. I also want you all to think about that sometimes we've lived in disappointment for so long, we begin to decorate or to put hang little tags on, or try to make what we're going through look good. You know, it's like, oh, well, I really didn't want that anyway. Or you know what? I found something better to do. No, that is not the case. Sometimes when we are going through certain things in our lives, because we haven't accomplished those things, we begin to make it seem, we try to devalue those things. And we try to make it seem like, oh, I really didn't want it anyway. Well, yes, you did. You wanted it because you attempted to try to do it in the first place. So let's just be real with ourselves and say, hey, it hasn't happened yet, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. And so in some of the other things that when we talk about resurrecting things, or the living in disappointment, my note says some of the common things that we try to downplay is when we have chronic fear, when we are fearful or doubtful about a certain things. Sometimes it's depression, it's grief. Sometimes it's the trauma that has happened in our lives. And sometimes it's the bitterness towards God, or it could be bitterness towards ourselves. And it's the bitterness towards ourselves because we may have some shame from the past mistakes that have happened in our lives. So all of those things can cause us to kind of walk away and say, okay, I'm not feeling hopeful. I'm not feeling that I can resurrect these things in my life. Therefore, I'm going to leave it alone. Okay, I'm just going to leave it alone. But I also want y'all to understand that when things begin to be resurrected in our lives, sometimes there is some noise that may be made, okay? Nacogdoches had an earthquake a couple of weeks ago. Now, I think Mama said she heard or she felt the tremors. Different people, when I checked on my family members, hey, honey, when I checked on, hello there, Stephanie. If I don't say your name, say something to me in the chat so I can know that you're there. Miss Stephanie, so glad to have you on tonight. But yes, Boris, you're absolutely right. But one of the things about the earthquake, it made some noise, okay? It made some noise. It didn't just happen and it made some noise, and it also caused some people to be able to feel it, the results of that. The same thing is when you're trying to resurrect some things in your life, there should be some shaking and some quaking going on. Somebody should notice that you are beginning to speak life into your situations. Some people begin to make new plans. First of all, you didn't ask for help. And if you didn't ask for help, I want you to ask for some help. Because sometimes when we have some things that have been buried in our lives, we can't dig our way out of it by ourselves because we need some help. Okay? We need some help, and that help may come from our family members, our loved ones, the people that are in our circle, our village. You all, it's nothing wrong with asking for help. Okay? It's nothing wrong. And I will say this, sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes we don't know what you need because you haven't told us. Okay? Now, as a parent, I should be able to discern when something is going on with my children, but sometimes I can't. But when I can recognize those things that's going on with the people in my life, the loved ones, those that are near and dear to me, then I feel like it's my obligation to say, how can I help you? What can I do? But if I miss the cues that you have been given, ask, in your attempts to ask for help, you all be vocal, make some noise, and ask for some help. Praying consistently about the situation, all of that is great because that's what we believe as people of God. We believe in praying. We believe that taking it to the Lord in prayer. Whoever sent the stars, thank you very much. And for those of you all who don't know what stars are, stars is money. I'm not asking for money, but YouTube and Facebook have different little things that to show your support of the content that I'm creating. There is a place that there is a way that you can send stars. And so I thank you all so very much. Not asking for it, but I do appreciate it if you give it to me. So also, and my time is just about gone. My time is just about gone. I want y'all to understand that we need to have faith for the impossible. If we're talking about resurrection and how to resurrect your hope, we need to have faith for the impossible. We need to understand that the resurrection power lives in you. Anything that you feel like has died, the Bible talks about, can these dry bones live again? Anything that you want to resurrect that is worth giving your all in all, that means you've got to give your all in all. If you want to see some things happening, Teddy T. Culpepper, guess what? You've got to give it your all in all. You've got to make that thing happen. Faith without works is dead. And some people may say, well, that's not what that scripture means. But listen, we've got to be busy. We've got to make sure that we are putting in the work. Some of these things is not going to happen by us just saying, oh, I wish that would happen. I want this and not, whatever. Some may. But listen, let me just tell you, most of the things that I have accomplished in my life and my husband, we have accomplished because we've put in the work. Okay? So you've got to be able to put in the work. And I also want you to, I said I'm trying to symbolize some things. Just like Jesus had to let go of his grave clothes, so do you. You've got to release that shame, the fear, and the doubt. You've got to release all those things that have been holding you back. And you may say, well, how do I let go of those things? How do I get past something that happened to me 25 years ago and I haven't dealt with it, but it's got a chokehold on me? Okay? The first thing, it starts with forgiving yourself. Okay? Some things that happened to us in our lives, especially that long ago, a lot of you all were children. And I have to say, as children, we have no control over what adults do. Some of us have suffered things at the hands of adults. And the adults may have been family members. They may have been neighbors. They may have been church members. They may have been people at your school. Some of us have suffered at the hands of other people. And guess what we have to learn to do? Forgive ourselves because we had nothing to do with it, and then forgive that person. And I talk about this, about forgiveness, because it is so important. If you do not forgive people, you are the one that is held in bondage. That other person, they're living their life. They may not have even realized that they offended you. And again, I will say that's not always the case, because some people know that they have done things to you that they should not. But for you, just so you can get yourself back in where you need to be, you need to release yourself. You need to forgive so you can move on. Okay. And then also every day, start making choices that will reflect on your decision to move forward. So if you decided that, hey, I'm going to make a comeback, I'm going to dig in and I'm going to try to reach this goal that I let go 25 years ago, or I let go 10 years ago, or I let go five years ago. I'm going to dig in and I'm going to try to accomplish this goal because I want to resurrect the hope that I have about being able to do this thing. Well, guess what? You're going to have to do the work, you all. You're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to dig in, and you're going to have to set aside some time to get this thing done. Not only are you going to have to set aside some time, but you're going to have to set aside some prayer. Because let me just tell you, when you are trying to move forward, when you are trying to try to sometimes reach the impossible, and again, remember, nothing is impossible. You may have some scars from your years of whatever, those scars of long ago. But guess what? Scars heal, and so can you. So as you are healing, let's make sure that you understand, and my time is gone. But just like I said, Jesus got up, so can you. And I just want you all to know that it's time to live again. You know, it is time to live again. I'm 61 years old. My husband is 61 years old. Most of our life is behind us, okay? Most of our life is behind us. Our years moving forward, they are probably not as many as that is behind us. And because of that, remember I told you all a couple of weeks ago, I only want to deal with the things that make me happy. If it's going to bring me sadness, or it's going to bring me, some discouragement. Hello there, my crystal. If it's going to bring me, thank you for the stars. If it's going to bring me some discouragement, if it's going to cause me to be down, if it's going to cause me to lose some sleep, guess what, Miracle? I don't want to be bothered. And guess what? I don't have to. I can choose the things that I will allow to be in my life. And sometimes when we're trying to resurrect hope, we're trying to regain the things that we have let slide. That means that there's going to be some people that I have to let go of. There's going to definitely have to be a mindset, a shift that I've got to let go of. There's going to be some things that I have to do in order to accomplish the things that I want to accomplish. One of my favorite sayings is, no matter what a person has been, they can choose to be different. So if you want to resurrect some things that are in your life, guys and girls, I need you all to choose to be different. And guess what? You can. It's all up to you. My theory when I was in school, in counseling, is choice. I believe that everybody has a choice. You can choose to do whatever it is that you want to do. Just know that there are consequences. Regardless of what you choose, there will be consequences. And you decide which consequences you are prepared to endure. Okay, you all choose. That's not left up to me. The only choices that I have to make in this life is the choices that really will affect me. Now, you may say, well, what about your husband? What about your children? What about your grandchildren? God gave them a choice as well. Okay. And so as much as I would want to make sure that they are making the right choices, it's not left up to me. It's left up to them. So as I am wrapping up, I want you all to enjoy this Easter season. This is the season that we typically will see, a lot of people in our churches. We see a lot of people that are coming together because they want to remember that he rose, Christ, he rose. And so because of that, I want you all to remember, not only did Christ arose and he got up from the grave, that you all can resurrect some of the dead things that you have in your life that you want to bring back to life. And you all can do it. You all have the power. You all, with the help of God, you can do anything. There is nothing impossible in this life. You just got to believe it. And if you believe it, then hey, more power to you. And as we are wrapping up on tonight, I just want to say, for everyone that joined in with us on tonight, I appreciate you all being here. I do not take it for granted that you all are here. I do not take it for granted that you set aside a part of your busy Tuesday afternoon to join in to see what I'm talking about. So thank you so very much. If anything has spoken to you in what I shared on tonight, please leave some comments. For my YouTubers, if you all would please just leave a comment. If you're coming across this and you're not a subscriber, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you will always see the new things that's coming up. And y'all have a great Easter. And as my sister Cynthia would say, good night, grandstanders. I will see you all next week. Y'all enjoy this week. And remember, all things can live again. Good night, everybody. In the Meantime, by T.J. Culpepper. Thanks for the hearts, honey. Thanks for the hearts, daughter. Thanks for the stars. All right, grandstanders. I will see you all on next Tuesday, if all is well. Good night, everybody.